All right, everybody, here we are. We have wrapped up this infantry battalion attack. I'm going to conclude this with conducting an after action review of the fight. As you can see here, we finished it up. I've exposed all the enemy. Really, I want to go through all the way back to the first video, cover the training objectives, review the fight itself, analyze the enemy who I identified and destroyed versus what they actually were, review the friendly casualties, weigh that, was it worth it? Did I do good enough? And then capture, discuss, share lessons learned that I'm thinking about, sustains, improves, Armor Brigade 2 general observations. Okay, so I will pull up here for you the overall training objectives. Again, the purpose of this really was to become more familiar with battalion level operations. That's what this was for. Okay. The major training objectives. I want to become better at understanding the operational framework for each of the tasks a battalion would have to do. Some of those tasks include conducting an approach march, conducting an attack, managing transitions, and managing tempo of the fight, the subordinate elements, the interplay between us and the enemy. Okay. Now, do remember, if you have been through this whole thing, um, the headquarters company and forward support companies were not fully represented. I had to use extra other elements in their place. Okay. The training was not enemy focused, right? I'm trying to practice running battalion level operations, not necessarily fully and solely destroying the enemy. Okay. Now, one thing, there's enough trucks for everybody, right? Each company had their own trucks. That is not normal for how general battalions are arrayed, right? That's just a limitation of the game. No big deal. The engineers. I didn't have engineers this time. I did not want to add more tasks than necessary to practice. Might do that on the next one. It did not give the enemy any obstacles either. There was no organic weapons company or sub complete formations for that. I had to add extra um, motorized sections and platoons of those tow trucks and the automatic grenade launcher trucks, the Mark 19s. They weren't part of a Delta company the way it kind of would normally be task organized. So that wraps up the review of the objectives. Let's see how I did that over the series of these 9 videos. Let's review the fight. Okay. Now, one of the updates for, I'm going to expand this real quick. One of the updates for the game here recently was a replay button here. Check this out. So we can go all the way back to the start here, right? And it's going. The first major task I had here, aside from hasty planning and task organization and route planning, was the approach march. As you can see here, we've got the scout elements leading on zone recon, route recons for everybody. Then I'll move some more. Kind of get this going a little bit faster. We've got some mortars to help ensure that they had support. Then we've got 2 of the companies starting here. We'll slow down. Then we jump the rest of the mortars, the battalion TAC, tactical CP, and we're starting to make our way through. Pause here for a second. As you can see, we've gotten through phase line 3. There you go. This will help. We got the main supply route, the auxiliary supply routes. I did not have the enemy here, probable line of deployment. We ended up taking casualties and enemy recon here. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. Because as you can see, I'm trying to find the enemy. Oh, there's the plane that the enemy aviation close air support that took out a mortar and the battalion TAC, killing the battalion commander and myself, the battalion S3. That's great learning point. Definitely an improve there. As you can see here, we've gone through the reconnaissance, got to phase line Delta, or the probable line of deployment. Then the first company came up, established assault position, almost like a big company-sized objective rally point, to begun conducting more leaders recon. I've got a company here in the woods in concealment, and I'm really trying to identify now, like, yeah, I've really got to find the enemy so I can determine what the best avenue of approach to the objective is. Keep it on going. While I was doing this, I was additionally trying to work on the macro management of medical convoys, logistics convoys, trying to stay zoomed out. But as you can see, we've got, yep, that's more deco trucks. Excellent. We've kind of chosen this route for this last company kind of in reserve. It's looking like I can get close enough to the objective through this avenue of approach and isolate and have the best uncontested. We ended up having a platoon of enemy here in this wood line that the company assaulted through with. And you notice when I finally fully commit to this avenue approach, we move that company over here to be able to follow and support, or follow and assume the mission if one company attacking this objective is not enough. At this point, I moved this company up through to phase line 5 Alpha, through some villages, identifying more enemy, destroying them periodically. They took some indirect fires until the enemy's mortars were destroyed. Yep, there we go. A little bit faster. Got some, tried to replicate ammo resupply for logistics. We've got casualties going back and forth, trying to isolate, find intel, driving fires, driving maneuver. Now we've got a foothold on the objective, used SOSRA. We assaulted through, beach mastering the objective, finished off to the limit of advance. And that's pretty much that with the fight. Okay. Cool. So I really do like this replay button again. Check this out. Yeah, I can't really see anything there, can you? All right, cool. All right, bringing up the enemy here. As you can see, check this out. Look at all these guys. Again, their screen line, they were trying to identify us and disrupt us, was all the way up at phase line 3, way earlier than I thought of. I got to keep that in mind as a lesson learned. All right, so we've got a platoon here, another platoon, another platoon, 3, 4, 5, machine gun teams, grenade team, or yeah, automatic grenade launchers. So there's at least a company or two there. I'm going to pull up, before I actually review the enemy, let's review, did I work on the operational framework for everything, right? The approach march, did I successfully use different avenues of approach? Did I sequence, reconnaissance element in front, a quartering party, attack? I did okay, I think. Very poor with the laziness of keeping people in the open and paying for it, but jumping mortars to here once they kind of were at 2/3 range, and then re-allowing movement forward and then jumping the mortars again to here. Um, did a good job of being able to mutually support every element and then having alternate routes to move and be flexible in the fight. I think I did well with that. The sequence steps of the attack, we've got starting in tactical assembly area, conducting reconnaissance, moving to the line of departure, then transitioning to maneuver. So a little bit of this is maneuver, but I was still kind of really trying to find the enemy's defense at that moment. Uh, but really down here is the transition um, to the maneuver, deploying, and assaulting. Okay. Once that's done, then consolidating reorganization. I didn't fully do that here for the rest of the battalion. We called pause. 9 videos is long enough. Okay. Moving on, reviewing how was the tempo, managing transitions and tempo. Did I balance enough of thinking about the enemy, getting people into positions of advantage, preparing fires and other mutually supporting items to continue the tempo? Yeah, generally speaking, there's some limitations on the game or how I understand it, and I'm not good enough at the game yet. I probably could have been a little more expedited um, uh, on that tempo, but having some tactical patience, I think, was good to practice. Managing the objective, we talked about in the videos, beach mastering, managing, breaking it up into controllable sub-objectives. Using grid reference graphic is something I didn't quite touch on too much, but is something we would do, as you can see here in the visual graphic up on screen, of how we would get down even further. For this type of fight, my 2 or 3 shop would develop this if the brigade hadn't already developed a grid reference graphic for this village. Um, but at the end of the day, if it was only a company level operation, I would expect them to do it at the minimum. Ideally, somebody else should do that for them. And then lastly, the consolidation of organization. We did some of that, and we did that throughout different parts of the operation as well. I think I did all right. If I spent more time, I would have continued to do that through the rest of the battalion, and we would have tried to pass um, either ourselves, prepped for further counterattacks. These guys aren't arrayed in a position to actually defend this objective big. Like, okay. However they do that. All right. Let's transition to reviewing friendly forces first. How did we do at taking care of our soldiers in the fight? Right. So let me go back here first to the battalion Alpha Alpha. This is where the main command post would be. The combat trains command post would be with the battalion aid station, the roll 1, and all the FLAs. Medic platoon would be coming back and forth. The first sergeants would be supporting them. The platoon sergeants would be supporting them to get casualties back. All right, Alpha Company. And it took a little bit for me. I guess I could have been better organized at understanding my task organization with the way the game um, tracks everybody. Right there's the friendly forces. We'll get to the opponents, but that's how they do that. So Q platoon took casualties. So for example, right, they were part of Alpha Company, had a troop carrier, and they had 1 kill. That sucks. Okay. So on and so forth. Bravo Company was pretty degraded. So they're yellow on personnel. They were definitely red on ammo. That's the class 5 ammo. Their weapons and equipment systems were amber, yellow. And then class 3, like fuel. How much fuel did they extend so we can continue the operation? They spent all that. Charlie Company lost the company commander at the headquarters, and then First Platoon had some casualties. Delta Company had a few casualties, especially there at the end on the objective. HHC lost the battalion commander, S3 and S2 in the truck from the enemy aviation. I did not realize they would have mortar section and then scout motorized section. So overall, the battalion personnel amber, class fives red. We have to get resupply from brigade before we can continue on. We could probably do defense for a little bit longer. We have to transition to that for a while. Weapons, equipment, I think we're still green on, but fuel, I need fuel. Okay. So total, we had 54 casualties. That's 11% of the battalion formation, as you can see here on screen. Now, generally speaking, the wounded to killed ratio during operations is 4 to 5 to 1. 4 to 5 wounded for every 1 KA. So that kind of wraps up to about 44 wounded. Small Purple Hearts are big, um, big casualties, big wounds, or another 10 KIA. Unfortunately, during this operation, we lost 10 soldiers, and the other 44 were wounded. That's significant. That is significant. We had 14 vehicles lost. I'm sorry, 12 vehicles as it was. That's 14% of the battalion. And then, as you can kind of see down here, there's 4 aircraft. I completely forgot that I had allocated close air support for myself. I got sucked into the micromanagement of each of the subordinate companies, and that's a significant improve to capture. I'll review again here later. All right, moving on to the enemy. All right, enemy review, what I found and what they actually had. Okay? So all this comes together and represents on the right side of this graphic I've got up there a battalion task force. Okay, the mortar section, 2 rifle companies, an anti-tank platoon, a scout platoon, an armored tank platoon, and a motorized rifle infantry platoon. Okay. As you can see, I've found destroyed 1 scout team, found and destroyed 5 BTRs, destroyed 2 anti-tank teams, found mortars, ended up destroying them, didn't template it on my kill chart, found and destroyed the enemy tank platoon, only found and destroyed 4 rifle squads, and then destroyed 2 machine gun teams, and you've got the enemy close air support. In total, I inflicted 43 out of 194 casualties on the enemy. That's 22% of their formation. I destroyed all 6 of their vehicles, destroyed all their mortars. Not too bad. That alone kind of pushed them into a dilemma of have our disengagement criteria metrics been met? Do we have to disengage just because we've lost all the vehicles, our major combat power that's got the 105 millimeter tank cannons, the 30 millimeter or the 7.62 machine guns on the BTRs? Do I have enough firepower to even continue on, or enough infantry? They may have just chosen to retrograde. Most games don't particularly identify those types of conditions yet, where like the battle would just stop. Even if you haven't destroyed enough, they may be like, the conditions are out. So I feel like I should have done a lot better on identifying all these enemies. Look at that. There's still a couple companies out here. Now, whether that's a factor of just the type of optics they had in the year, right? Did this game is simulating like 1989, 1990 at the current point in time that I've selected. No, that's a lot different than right now, 2024, 2025. I've got a lot more optics to find people, but I can try and do a better job of finding all these people. All right, wrapping up now with some of the significant um, observations. Let's go up here to these guys. Let's look at this cool truck. Hell yeah! Look at that Mark 19. Love it. Sustain, yeah, the frameworks. I think I did okay with that. Using intel to drive fires to drive maneuver, did reasonable on that. Um, Especially here at this objective. And improve. I did poor initial enemy analysis. I kind of hand waved and didn't complete the enemy, and I did not define how much enemy I would expect here. Did not array them on the battlefield. And improve, again, location placement of allowing the battalion TAC truck to park out in the open to be observed and destroyed. I did get sucked into the micromanagement fights during here, like on the objective in the middle with the other company, and I did not maintain macro management of the entire battalion. I absolutely have to do a better job of that, right? Managing logistics, resupply points, aid and litter, medevac. That first part of the approach march, I did okay, but in the actual transition to movement and maneuver, the maneuver part had to micro the platoons and stuff. That's kind of a bummer. Um, but yeah, and improve. I need to probably develop an executions checklist, X check. That way I can practice like planning SOPs and talk SOPs, um, talk SOP, PSOP type stuff, right? Sustain. The kill charts, the enemy kill chart was good. The friendly casualty combat power chart was good. I think I can refine that a little bit more, but generally speaking, those tools, those types of fighting products that they're called, did okay. All right, general observations. Man, this game is fun. This game is real fun. Look at the scale and scope of this. This is huge. And then I selected like a 4 kilometer wide by 15-kilometer depth area to conduct practice on. This is great. This is awesome. Um, Vehicle reloading, whether user error, a bug, or just limitations, right? Like this whole company, I could not get to reload into vehicles to then establish hasty defense and like keep the tempo going. I don't know. Okay. One reason why I love this game, I think it's great, is these icons, right? Each vehicle, squad. This is in a lot of ways exactly how our current mission command systems look. This is how icons are templated on there. There's not these kind of half transparent enemy icon, unit icons. You can deliberately and place those on. They don't aggregate, they don't move, but each individual item that's reporting that does. So this is in a similar way. It's a similar look to what I use, and I like that, so I can practice accurately. The marking tools, all these good marking tools that created these graphics for, we need more of those and more options. If there was a way to not just do the marking tools, but be able to select an overlay, so I can create an operations overlay, an enemy COA overlay, whether they both show or show only one at a time, that would be great. The AI for subordinate elements, I really wish can be improved. That's the thing, and it's not just Armor Brigade. It's all war games and video games. The fact that I have to micromanage the company and they don't do the normal self-analysis to change their own formation, order, or movement, stop at an objective rally point, conduct a leader's recon, find the best assault and support by fire positions themselves that I would normally expect a good human to be able to do. The fact that they can't do that sucks. I can't practice macro management as fully as I would. That's okay. Maybe one day. Um, yeah. And then fully fleshed out formations. Now that Armor Brigade 2 is out on Steam, we've got the workshop. I imagine a lot more people are going to be building those new databases, and there'll be lots of great options. But anyway, we're here. It's time to wrap up. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope you got something out of it. I got some good practice. All right. I'll see you at the next one.